Hello, my name is Douglas Love Ramos. I'm the managing director of Orlando Shakes, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to our live streamed Q&A with the creative team of our production of the Trial of Ebenezer Scrooge. So tonight, because we're going to have our creative team with us and because we're on this platform, you can ask us questions. So please feel free to leave your questions about the production in the comments, and tonight's guests will answer them live. So before we dive in and meet our guests, let's take a look at a short preview of our video-on-demand production of The Trial of Ebenezer Scrooge by Mark Brown.
Get into the Christmas spirit with the laugh-out-loud comedy, The Trial of Ebenezer Scrooge.
Opening remarks, Mr. Scrooge. Bah, humbug.
In this sequel to the holiday classic, it's 1 year after A Christmas Carol, and Scrooge has returned to his miserly ways, and he's putting the ghosts of Christmas on trial for slander, kidnapping, and attempted murder.
Doubles, sun, click, pet, knit, tutor.
The ghost of Christmas yet to come.
Merry Christmas. Objection?
Equal parts silly and sweet. Enjoy a holiday video-on-demand experience. Stream The Trial of Ebenezer Scrooge, December 10th through 20th. Get your tickets at orlandoshakes.org.
We are so proud of this production and so proud of this production team, this creative team that has brought you this show. We have three of them here tonight, and I want to introduce them to you. First, my colleague here at Orlando Shakes, our artistic director and the director of this production, Jim Helsinger.
So happy to be here.
Hello. The playwright of this show, Mark Brown.
Hello,
a
thank
long
you.
history with us here at Orlando Shakes. And another person who has a long history with us, our scenic designer and video editor for this production, Bert Scott. Bert, welcome.
Hello.
So we want to hear your questions, so please feel free to leave those in our comments and we'll get to them as soon as we can. But I've got some questions that I thought I'd ask these guys to start off. Mark.
Yes.
It all starts on the page, right? So tell us a little bit about the history of this production in particular. Orlando Shakes has quite a bit to do with its origin. So tell us about that original inspiration and the development of this work. Where did it get started?
I had been working on an adaptation of A Christmas Carol. It's one of my favorite shows. I've been working on it. And for some reason, why I was writing it as a courtroom trial, because I was reading the book and parts of the Marley Scrooge, that first Marley Scrooge scene, read to me like court transcripts. I don't know why, but it did. So I go, oh, well, I'll put it into a courtroom, which might be fun. And then 9/11 happened. And it was, tragedy aside, it was amazing to see how nice everybody was to each other worldwide. And you had people coming down to ground zero to give out water and to help out. You had people were nice, sort of all over, and cared about each other. And that lasted for several months, and then it went away. Anyway, I was in New York soon after 9/11, and it was very quiet. And then everybody was very nice. And then I went back a few months later, and taxis are honking and people yelling. And I thought that might be what Christmas Carol is like, where Scrooge swears that he'll keep the Christmas spirit throughout the year. But then by April, people aren't as nice to each other anymore. People, they'll volunteer at a food bank at Christmas time. Yeah. And sort of go, well, I did my good deed for the year. But there are people hungry all year long. There are people who need, help all year long. So then I went with that idea And it's sort of like the song from Charlie Brown Christmas. Oh, that we could always see that. Something like, oh, that we could always see that spirit through the year. So I wrote it, and then Orlando Shakes. I was part of the Playfest in 2003. We did a workshop of it. Young Philip Nolan was part of it. And then in the following year, Orlando Shakes, thank you, Jim Helsinger, did the world premiere of it. And it's been done, it's been published, it's done around. It came back to Orlando Shakes in, what, 2008?
2008, we did it.
2008. And then now this year. So it's been thrice produced.
That is great. It's been produced all over the world. Correct?
It has, yeah. It's been here. It's Canada, England, Beijing, of all places. There's been a production of it in Beijing. So I love that I've been produced in China.
That is
yeah. So it's been all over.
So really, a show that started in development and in process here in Orlando. Has continues to travel the world. So, yes. And we're very proud of it. And Jim, I know that you were excited about bringing this show back because it's been so successful for us, right?
It's just such a wonderful piece. I think that, we tend to either be It's a Wonderful Life people or Christmas Carol people. And then we kind of run out of, there are some other Christmas stories, but there aren't. It's Christmas time, and I'm going to do Charlie Brown maybe, or The Grinch or something. It's good to add to the canon. And I think for those people that are watching for the first time, I think Mark sort of intimated, we're nice to each other once a year and not for that long. Could it be a little longer than that? That's a bigger message than a Christmas Carol. It's an enlarged message. And we had just done Christmas Carol. So it's really good a year later to do what follows Christmas Carol and do Trial of Ebenezer Scrooge, where it is a year later. So we were really thrilled to announce this back in, remember, February? And it was going to be back on our stages at the Margison stage where it was world premiered. And well, that won't be happening. The audience will get to see, actually, there's a fly-in right at the beginning. You can see where it would be from your seat in the Margison stage. But now our audience has the best seat in their own house. So
absolutely. So talking about that fly-in, there's this wonderful animated fly-in. You're flying over the stage and you're seeing it. You're seeing the set come to life, if you will, in an animated version. So how did switching? My understanding is that's something that, Bert, you would have done whether we would have done this on video or in real life, just to figure out how the set would live in our space. How does switching this to a video on demand production impact your process in creating a set?
Well, we originally started with the set that was designed for the production that, as you said, that was going to happen live. And I think we thought at first it was going to be as simple as taking that 3D model, which I usually do for all scenery anyway, and using the image of that as the background, and we were going to paste the actors in, and there we had it. But it sounded so easy. When we started sort of actually analyzing how the filming was going to happen, even though we were going to have the ability to send the actors green screens and get rid of their backgrounds, you realize that you were only going to see them from here up, just like you're seeing us now. And so you can't just paste that into a background. So it became obvious that I had to somehow find a way to create individual worlds for the actors to live in, their little boxes that were part of the larger world. And here's some video of us doing this process. But this play is kind of unique and lent itself to this because the characters sort of stay put on stage. The judge is always at his judge's bench, and the witnesses are always in the witness dock, and the lawyers are always at their tables. So it sort of gave me the ability to use that idea of the boxes, the witness boxes where we started, and create these kind of Victorian frames that are in the style of the whole set that each character has as their own individual background.
It's incredible. It's interesting to watch because we were able to then create some special effects. This production to me seems like a really great marriage of live actors who are acting and telling this story, and all the things we can do with backgrounds and animation and virtual effects. It's really exciting. How does that process as a director, Jim, come into to the final product? Are you conceiving these from what would be great if this could happen? Is it something that Bert is saying I can do this and therefore let's incorporate it? What's your process?
I think kind of all of those things happened, and I think I can also I want to try to answer Rhonda Day, who saw our production before, was saying, how is this enhanced? Well, the challenge of the pandemic also creates opportunity. So there are things that we can do in this that we can't do on stage. Marley rises out of the floor in green fog. Now, we did fog before, but I've never done green fog before, and it keeps fogging behind him forever. Future has this kind of ghostly trails the whole time he's there, and we don't have personal foggers on the stage, that just follow you around the stage. One that I really loved, which was a challenge that became an opportunity as Mark wrote the play, Past, the character of Past, morphs into Fan and Belle, which on stage was, she added a little costume thing while some music played, and there was some sprinkles, kind of gold dust that came down from the sky. In this, she literally morphs from one character to another because the technology can do that. And that actually solved a problem for us. We're like, well, how are we going to do this costume change? How are we going to do, you know what? We can steal that bit. Remember the Michael Jackson video when everybody was changing? Was it like, I don't know, 20 years ago? We're like, we could probably do that. And it's so our technical director, who's behind the screens right now, doing all of this work right now, Christian Knightley used Liquify in Premiere Pro to morph her from one to the other. So you're going to see stuff that what are we going to do? And how does this medium give us stuff we couldn't do? Here's another one I love. So in the original production, there's a magic lantern. We see scenes from his past. And what we did was all the actors looked up like this, and we imagined seeing the magic lantern. In this production, you actually see, and a magic lantern from the 1800s was taking a glass plate and putting a light behind it, often a candle or something else, and then it would glow and you could see it. So we actually see that happen in this production. So we are able to enhance it with things that we just couldn't otherwise do. That's fun. Summer challenges. The crutch, Tiny Tim's crutch, has to be passed from the lawyer Rothschild to the bailiff. Well, Rothschild's in Colorado, and the bailiff is in his own home here in Central Florida. So when you see it, Rhonda, you alone, those people watching this right now, will know that crutch moves from Colorado all the way to Florida, Orlando, in this production.
It's magic. The magic.
And it's magic.
Excellent. That's great. So let's talk about the logistics of filming actors, the safely from their own homes. What did we have to do to get everyone to record their part, and how did that work into the rest of the production? What were the logistics?
I'll tell a little bit of this, and then let me hand it over to Brett or to Bert, because there's a ton on the back end. There's just so much post-production work. So what we found, it's been 9 months. We've all been on Zoom, right? So there is a method by which we can talk, but also it's not conducive to a full play. It's great for readings. UCF was doing readings. We were doing our Playfest readings. We were trying different formats, different ways, and this shows very much a product of that partnership between UCF and Orlando Shakes in creation of, well, that didn't work, and the thing that just kept falling down for us, and probably some of you watching this right now, it's the internet. It's faulty. We go, and then we're talking again, or, oh, they're gone. Oh, they're. So what we found that did work was we used Zoom as the medium by which they could hear each other. But we filmed on their iPhones. The whole cast had iPhones. Nothing against you, Samsung, either. But here you can see a couple of them with their ring light and their green screen. And so we would rehearse the scene on Zoom. And then we would say to everybody, we'd use a little clapboard. They would say, this is scene number this, take 4. Everybody would clap together. And then we would record the scene in 8 different locations, in 8 different homes, on 8 different iPhones all at the same time. And then the magic of Bert would happen after that. And I'll hand it over to you for the rest of that.
Well, first I should say there were 2 of us. The lighting designer and I were both
became video editors.
Both became video editors. So we the first thing was we took the 8 different files from each actor and had to line them up so that when they were having a conversation, it happened in the correct time. And what I found interesting about that was it wasn't the video that was helpful in lining it up, it was the audio, because when they did that clap, the Premiere creates a graph of the sound, and there was a spike where they clapped, so you could visually line up the audio, which would then make the video line up. So it actually was much easier to line that up than we thought. So we would line them up and watch the scene and make sure that it played like it was supposed to, and people were having a natural rhythm. And then we used green screen technology to remove their backgrounds. And each actor then got their own little box. And then we, after that was assembled, we took each box and basically animated it. So it's kind of an animated movie. It's a little bit Who Framed Roger Ebenezer Scrooge. That was the process. And I think I could also answer. There's a question from a guest about the transition from scenic designer to video editor. I had never actually done any video editing before. This was kind of on the job training. But I was the lighting designer for the 2008 production of this. And something I've always said to my lighting design classes is I ask them a trick question and say, what's the analogy between a theater lighting designer and someone on film? And they always say cinematographer. And I say, well, to me, it's the editor, because the lighting designer really controls the pace and the flow of the show on stage. So I feel like I wasn't quite using my scenic design skills, but I was really using my lighting design skills to edit the characters coming and going, and the pace of the end of a scene going into the next scene. So it actually turned out to be a lot of fun to move them all around.
And you've done this now. I mean, Bert is a professor at UCF. We have a wonderful, long partnership with UCF. And you've now, in this pandemic world, have done this for several productions and readings and things with UCF. And what have you learned along the way that we're benefiting from tonight in this production?
Oh, so much. So we did five of these at UCF, and we were doing them while we were in the design process for this show. So we were learning things, and we originally thought the first one at UCF was going to be done live. And we just wanted the technology simply to be able to have the right number of people on screen at a time. We wanted to get away from the Brady Bunch Zoom. And if it was a 2-person scene, we just wanted to have the ability to have 2 people. And then that's it. But once we got into the technology, we realized we could do more, and that was dangerous. We discovered that the more that we wanted to do was pushing past the ability to do it live. So we went to film, but we filmed the first one live. So we performed it straight through for 2 hours with one take, and then did some minimal editing to it. And decided that that was not the best, which is what we thought we were going to do with this. We were going to use that technology.
Yeah.
And I sent Jim a panicked email and said, no. We just discovered what we don't want to do. So we went to more and more film techniques through the 5. The 5th one that we did at UCF was entirely filmed over the course of 2 weeks and was edited together like a film. So we didn't do individual cameras. It was a Zoom, but that's sort of what we learned through our process, that film is best done as film, not as theater.
Yeah. And Jim, what was your experience in collaborating with these 8 cast members who are or 8 different locations? How did that change the rehearsal process for you?
Well, the first thing was everybody was so game to do it. Had anybody had a negative attitude, it just would have been a disaster, quite honestly. Trying to keep 8 people, and more than that, because there's support and stage management and everybody also as a part of it. I got a green screen behind me. I'm actually not on a stage. I've got a great big ring, bright light in front of me. I can't actually see the actor that I'm talking to at the moment. Those are big challenges, which actually film actors have all the time. You're not really seeing Smaug the dragon. You're looking at a green tennis ball. That's green screen technology. But for stage actors, we love live. We love the interaction back and forth. And one of the challenges that, they just stepped up to the plate to was comedy relies on timing. And on Zoom, you guys have experienced this before. I say something and you answer, but then there's a little pause before your answer comes. So what we found out was the timing was just off. Somebody would do the setup, and here comes the punchline. It was just this dead pause. So we had to learn that in our recordings, you had to start answering on the last syllable of what the person was saying to you, so that it would appear. And then if you wanted to overlap, you were 3 syllables in, and then it would catch the last syllable of. It just was, and we would do a take, and we would go back and we would listen. And if it was off on Zoom, it would be off on the iPhones as well, because they're clapped. You're only hearing the person when you hear them on Zoom. Then we'd go back, okay, let's retake that. And there were times when the actor would go, it wasn't Zoom, it was me. I forgot my line. Let's do it again. So those happened too, but we would rehearse and take it, go back, discuss it, take it again. So it was a challenge, but I think one of the things that I, for our audience tonight, there's no laugh track. So you don't get that thing of hundreds of people all laughing with you. While we were rehearsing, we did get to laugh all together a lot. And that was really fun.
That's great. And of course, we're laughing so much because these lines and this situation and this story is so funny. And good. Here's one for Mark. I was just going to a Mark question. Do you have a favorite character in the script? And what was the most fun to write? Because we know we're so Philip Nolan did the first production, and he is our Scrooge tonight as well. So, but what was the most fun for you in this?
First, I want to go back because I left out pretty much the plot.
Necessary.
That the plot is Scrooge is so mad that everybody has gone back to not having the Christmas spirit that he decides to sue the ghost of Christmas past, present, and future, and Jacob Marley for all those breaking and entering and attempted murder and all that, because he's really mad at them for doing that. So he's a litigious old coot. So he's so that's the plot. Scrooge is suing the ghost of Christmas present and past and future. I think my favorite role that I wrote is the ghost of Christmas future. Because he uses a translator, and you can sort of just open the door for so many jokes and such ridiculousness. I always imagined when I was writing, I always imagined the ghost as Woody Allen under a shroud. That was my model. He's complaining, he's hot, he's cold, he's just so I think that one was probably and then just creating the role of Rothschild, creating the role of lawyer.
Yeah.
Sort of a slick lawyer, which was fun to add him into that, put him into this show. And I had fun with taking the lines that we hear in almost every production of A Christmas Carol and putting them either in different mouths or looking at it in a different way. So it's sort of like watching Christmas Carol. You're seeing a sequel, but you're also seeing A Christmas Carol through different windows, which I thought, and if you know A Christmas Carol, and I think actors more than almost anybody else who've done 1,000 productions of it, and I've put these words in different ways. It's I think fun.
It is great fun. This production is a riot, and we're so proud of it. And thank you all for joining me tonight for this Q&A and for giving our audience a little peek at the process and what they are going to expect. So that's all the time we have for questions tonight. But thank you for joining us. And don't forget to stream the Trial of Ebenezer Scrooge, available now through November 1st. You can also join us in person this year to celebrate the holidays, from with classics like Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas to It's a Marshmallow World, that wonderful song. Laura Hodos, one of our favorites, is coming to do her Laura Hodos Holiday Cabaret that is sure to warm your heart and spread holiday cheer. And she's appearing at our own Lounge Shakespeare Center. We have tented the courtyard and created a new venue for your enjoyment of live, in-person, socially distanced, open air entertainment. It's running at the Shakes from December 18 to 23rd. Look on our website so you can get your tickets to join us. Thanks again for joining us tonight. And we'll leave you with a special message from our Trial of Ebenezer cast.
Hello.
Hi.
Hello. We're the cast of the Trial of Ebenezer Scrooge, and we want to wish everyone this year
Happy holidays.
We hope you'll tune in to our video-on-demand performance this holiday season.
And a big bah humbug to 2020. But for all of you, we say Merry Christmas.
Happy holidays. Happy New Year.